Good day to you, parents and students. This is Mr. Bartels speaking, better known for 2 generations as Mr. B. I will be outlining in the next few minutes 2021 and 2022 on consumer mathematics. Now, what I'm going to do is just give you an overview. It's divided into 12 sections, and I'm going to try to just highlight some of the strong points of each section. This course is offered, as you know, by Tri-City Christian Academy, and it is produced by the Abeka system in Pensacola Christian College. The course being broken into 12 parts, let's start with Chapter 1. Chapter 1 Chapter 1 is one of the first expenses that the student could incur, and that's buying a car. Now, it goes into different details, not just going in and looking for the shiny red sports car, but it goes into details of what the student should be weighing at that time, and as an adult as well. It's one of the first big decisions they make. Now, the financing process, which they have to dig into as to what can they afford and what meets the criteria of their needs. It develops in the financing area. Should you really finance this vehicle, or should you be saving for it a year in advance? It also develops depreciation and insurance. How much is your new investment going to be worth next year? How much is it going to be worth in 5 years? Do you want to make this investment? And then we talk about the insurances that you will need and the annual operating cost. And then we divide it into, should you be leasing a car? And depending on what year in college you are, should you lease it, buy it, or what alternative is best for you? That's all put together, and each chapter is the same at the end, and I really like it because it's analytical skills. In analytical skills, you can have all the information you want, but if you don't know how to apply it to your life and it benefit you, then it's wasted. Chapter 2, travel. Do I want to travel by airplane? Do I want to travel by train or bus? Do I want to rent a car? And what are the time zones that I have to worry about? What applies to my trip? Now, the renting a car and these different options, which one is the best for you and why? Analytical skills. Chapter 3, income. The income goes into hourly wages, salary and commissions. It goes through a lot more than just a time clock and how to read a time clock. Self-employed workers, and let me see if I have anything in my other notes. Peace workers. What did your grandparents go through in peace workers? Was that an advantage or a disadvantage? Your hourly rate versus you being offered a salary or commission, which one's the best for you? Which way should you go on that? Self-employment, the deductions from your pay. Deductions from your pay meaning when you look at your pay stub and you start out with X dollars and you end up with X minus Y dollars. What happened? Did it go the way you wanted it to go? Are you saving enough? Are you working your retirement the right way? All this has to be studied and analyzed in the income section. Now, your next section is budgeting. You need to budget time. And I teach on this a lot. It's not only budgeting your time to go to work. What are you doing about the time that you're budgeting when you're doing your homework? Are you dividing that up properly for where it belongs? Or are you putting time in on your computer rather than working on your homework and getting that done? I always remember the story that Reverend Edgar told me. He may have put it in his own tape. But he always said the boy that came home and he received an F in consumer math. And his dad asked why. And he said, well, Dad, I spent too much time in science, so that's why I earned an F. Budgeting your time. Again, you have to analyze this, and you have to make sure you're going down the right road. We also cover balancing a budget and how do you adjust a budget that is going to sustain you until your next paycheck or throughout the month or quarter or year. That is all divided out for you. And it's a fabulous course to teach you the practical parts of this. Chapter 5 is housing. Now in housing, we're talking, should we rent? Should we purchase? If we purchase, what are the mortgage loans going to be? What are the taxes going to be? What's the insurance going to cost me? What are the repairs and utilities going to cost me? Also in the utilities, you'll learn how to read the electrical meter so that you know when you get that thing in the mail and it says $1,000 for electricity, you can say, wait a minute, it costs this, I use this, this is my daytime, this is my nighttime rates, where did you get that figure? And you want to approach it educationally that you totally understand how you're spending your housing money. Now, Chapter 6. Chapter 6 tackles your food budget. Now, your food budget, they cover first purchasing the food, and then the unit cost, and then the inflation and food prices. Which brand do you want to buy? What are you sacrificing if you buy a lesser brand? What are the ingredients in that can? Which is the best one for you? Can you buy fresh fruit cheaper than that canned peaches? We'll actually take a field trip and go to a grocery store and analyze the labels. Or sometimes we have just brought labels in and discussed each other's. Then we're going to talk about freezer food. Do I want to buy a can of food, fresh food, freezer food? What's the best deal for my budget at that time? And then lastly, we'll talk about the calories, what's good for your system, and what you need, why you're underweight or overweight, and how you're burning the metabolism. We go down different roads like that. Chapter 7, clothing. Clothing breaks down to a clothing plan. Why would I need a plan about clothing? I can buy these jeans with holes down the front that only cost $135. Or I can buy another pair of jeans for $35. How many of the expensive ones do I need? How many of the expensive ones can I afford looking back at what I have budgeted for clothing? It goes into even repairing your clothes. and learning how to sew and learning how to buy clothes on sale. It also goes the profit and loss in the clothing business. So you know what's going on when you get that sales flyer. What is a sale? Or what if they have increased it $5 and decreased it with a $4 sale? Have I even thought about it? Have I looked at it? So that too is quite important. Chapter 8 covers your leisure time. Leisure time is a tricky one. We all need leisure time. As I've gone into my retirement years, I haven't been able to afford vacations the way I could in my younger years. If I managed my money differently, and I had thought about vacations when I was 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, I probably would be safe. But my leisure time, I mismanaged. Shopping the budget for the best trip, waiting until you can afford it, checking out a church in where you're going to go stay. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about, oh, I'm going to be gone 2 weeks. Where am I going to worship God? This chapter touches on that. And if it does anything else, it just plants a seed in your mind that when you plan a vacation, think about, where am I going to worship God? In what church? Where? Another analytical skills. Chapter 9, one of all of our favorite taxes. Federal taxes and the records of it. Not keeping records. We pay so much extra taxes just by not educating ourselves. And back to our time management, have we done that properly? Or are we just going to give the government all of our money and they give it to whoever they want? Are you going to do that? Or are you going to think about how I want to save or spend my taxes? They then go into cash records, comparing cash receipts with cash payments, and keeping that record and balancing it so you can use it on your taxes. Chapter 10, banking. Banking, they divide into several areas. I'm going to highlight it very lightly. If you take this course, you're going to learn a lot more. But the banking is going to go into checking. It's going to go into writing and recording and balancing your checkbook. It's going to talk about borrowed money and what is it really costing you. And then it talks about ratio formulas, credit cards, debit cards, compound interest, certificate of savings, and bonds. And then it analyzes that whole pile. And again, it has more, but that's just the treetop. Chapter 11 is investments. How do you figure out the best life insurance that you need? What is wasting your money? What is too much life insurance? That's not a profit center. It's a center for you to cover everything that you need. But we don't want to give the insurance company extra money if we don't need it. You know, yes, you give them $15,000 and you get 15. You give them $1,500 and you get $15,000 of insurance. Is it worth it? What if it's the kind of insurance policy that when you get to your end of your life, it's all over? You get nothing. You need to think about that. More information for us. It talks about purchasing stocks and bonds. And this is covered much more in the business math course that it will be offered the following year. Also, it goes into capital gains and losses. That too, it just touches upon it. It's covered a lot more in your next math class. Chapter 12, a small business. I don't spend much time on that because we offer a full course in running a business. By the way, I was president and CEO of a company for 25 years that made $15 million a year. So I have had some experience in running a business, which is a real practical experience that I'm willing to pass on to you. They talk about the whys of a business. They talk about assets, liabilities. Any of you 12th graders that last year had the business math, you could give a lecture on this and take over the class on the T accounts, the assets and liabilities, the balance sheet, the income statement, trade credits, storage and inventory. Finally, this is your last chapter. We've got to analyze it again. In closing, I hope, parents, that you make an appointment that's offered to you. It's on the computer. It's in a letter dated to the parent, and it gives you a 15 or 20-minute slot just to talk with the instructor on that course, on his or her qualifications, and what the course offers. Very, very valuable. Very valuable. I encourage it. If the time schedule doesn't meet your schedule, go to the web page and read my telephone numbers and emails and contact me. And I'm sure we can set up something that will be advantageous to you and your student. Thank you very much, Mr. B.